everyone. Welcome to the Cynthia Linox Show. I am your host, Cynthia Linox, here to remind you that this is the best season of your life. This is your season of self discovery. The beautiful thing about this season is that you are not going back to find out things about yourself. You are actually on a journey to discover what's already there. So, in my mind, that makes the journey even easier because it's already there. And once you put in the work, once you make a concerted effort to know, to discover who you are, it yourself will reveal itself to you. And it's really fascinating because what happens is that you come into this place of confidence, of being assertive, of setting up living life on your own terms and really living organically. It's really fascinating. You'll discover things about yourself that really you knew, things that were there, but you just didn't tap in on it or even have the courage to be. But once you discover this, and another thing also is that this journey of self discovery shows up with a boatload of deconstructing different things from your life. You're going to be deconstructing from traditional values, traditional behaviors, things that no longer serve you. You're going to get rid of them because they're either outdated or, again, they no longer serve you. Once you become aware of the truth, you're going to be deconstructing from conventional norms, things in society that we have made up, we have created, and label it as the norm. And in your mind, it sometimes some of those things makes no sense to you. You may think like, what? Why do we do things this way? But it makes no sense. But because it's the norm, we just go along to get along. We just go along to fit in. So you're going to be deconstructing from conventional norms. You're going to be deconstructing from some political ideologies. Some of you, grew up in an environment with a dominant political party. And in your mind, that's what you choose. That's what you do. But because you're deconstructing, what happens with deconstruction is that you begin to think critically. You develop a critical thinking mind. And with that, you also focus on your emotional intelligence because that is what's going to give you the courage to change. Because as you discover things about yourself, you will start honing into those things and changing automatically, instinctively. And some of the people around you may not like it, may not like the new you or, what you have to share and uh, the changes that you are implementing, the changes that you're making in your life. So that's where emotional intelligence comes in because you're going to have to regulate it. You're going to have to regulate your emotions as to how you not only present yourself, but deal with the resistance of others. You're going to be deconstructing from religious indoctrination. You're going to be deconstructing from the educational system. And those of you that have kids, you're going to take it, you're going to get out of your mind the need to, in our minds, at least when I was growing up, is that, you send your child to school, to grade school, then they go to elementary school and junior high school, and automatically you go to college. No one really ever paid attention to, my gifts, my talents, my abilities, the thing that I like the most. And as I shared with you before, they kept kicking me out of boarding school because I was so mischievous. And obviously, since even back then, I was on this journey to discover just to be my organic, authentic self. Um, but anyway, yeah, some of you may have kids, and in your mind, you are gearing up for college, and some of your kids may not be academically inclined. If they are, that's great. They want to become an architect, a doctor, an attorney, an accountant, business administration, whatever it is that they want to be, an engineer, that is fine if that is the interest that they show. But then the kid that is always playing with the hose and wants to become a firefighter or a police officer, or they may want to take up a trade like a I don't know, a computer expert, or well, you may have to go to college for that. But my point is, you must hone in, pay attention to your kids to make sure that you are watching and seeing his tendencies, and whatever tendencies he has, that's where he or she will excel. And this is not a matter of good or bad, right or wrong. It's simply discovering their tendencies, as far as career and as far as the things that brings them joy. A few weeks ago, I shared about this. A friend of mine. She has two kids, and one is has a big job as a financial specialist with the federal government and so forth. And the other one went to, I believe it's MIT, and became an engineer and had a very, very good job. But this guy is really a musician. He plays, I don't know how many instruments, but that's what he does. And, and he worked in corporate America for, for a few years, until one day he said, that's it. I am done with corporate America. And he went off to become a musician. And that's what he is today. The point is that, we don't seek to be, we don't, at least in my mind, it's not a matter of getting rich. If you can do the things that makes you happy, and if you can do the things that you want to do, then to me, that's where pleasure lies, and your life is becomes meaningful and fulfilled. So it's not like, oh, I'm gonna become take on a profession that's going to pay me a lot of money because I want to be rich. At least that's not my point, because as you can see, there are many that may have a lot of resources, financial resources, but they're not happy. And the goal here is to discover your true authentic self and become happy. But I mean really happy. And you can define what that means for you. I have defined that what that means for you. For me, on social media, sometime last week, I read this person was really distraught. They were going through a hard time, and they began to air out all of their personal business on social media, and they really they really put out a lot of family things out there. They just went for it and began to talk about all of that. And the next day, or the next couple of days, they were a little more, you know, calm, and they, came back and wrote, I'm so sorry. I should not have aired my family's business, and blah blah blah, and so forth. And I I'm not part of that conversation, but I read it because that person is connected with me on social media. Um, so, and then 2 days later, they said, well, I guess they tried to justify their mishap, if you want to call it that. And people always share all the ups and the positive and the optimistic and their joys and their good time, but nobody wants to share when they're going through a hard time, or when they are unhappy, or when something is happening in their lives and so forth. And I gave that some thought, and even relative to myself, because I gave that some thought. And And I thought about my own self, because we all have these moments where we have to reset, reboot, recalibrate, reprogram, We all have these moments, life's issues that we have to deal with. Now, personally, I know that I have trained myself, I have disciplined myself in the area of emotional intelligence. So I have disciplined myself to regulate my emotions. I have disciplined myself to engage in critical thinking. So whenever there's a situation in my life, I'm going to think critically. I'm going to try to resolve whatever it is, and sometimes I just can't uh resolve a situation. It is what it is. But and sometimes, like, there's so many things that's happening today in our world, in our society, in our surroundings, that are beyond my control. So i have I have a choice. I can either get worked up about it, I can get upset, get angry, get disappointed, and blame and shame and judge and criticize and all that. I can do all that. Or I can retreat into my own and pay attention to the things that pertains to me, and the things that I can change, the things that I have dominion over, the things that I have control over, so that this was supposed to be on I I I forget to put this on do not disturb, but you know what, I'm not even going to stress over that anyway, I'll just return that call. But anyway, the thing is, the things that you can control, that's the thing, that's where you want to hone in, that's where you want to give your attention to. And always, for me, it's always bringing myself to a place of peace. Why? Because that's part of my happy place. That's part of my joy. And if there's something that you want to know that you have control over, is things that are intangible, things that people cannot touch, things that people cannot take away from you, your character, your integrity, your joy, your peace, your authentic self. you know don't allow things, external things, to trigger you, to control you, to take away your joy, your peace, your place of contentment. You want to be able to regulate that. You want to be able to control that. You want to be able to dominate that, and to be in control of that, and not allow external influences to tap in on that. So I just thought, well, this person is saying, we should sometimes be real and whatever. I have people that I can talk to. If I have issues going on that I need to talk to someone, I can pick up the phone and talk to a friend and say, give me your opinion on this. Or what do you think about this? Or I can do that. But as far as airing it out to social media, that's just not my MO. And again, this is no matter of good or bad, right or wrong. That person needed, and I would rather that person air out their grievances to the public or on social media, other than suppress it and do something else, like hurt themselves, or get to a place of depression or something like that. If that works for you, that's what you do. That just doesn't work for me. I'm not going to air, the things that I share is going to be upbeat and motivating and inspiring and uplifting. And I do and say that unapologetically, because I am not friends with the world. On Facebook, I've got over, well, close to 5,000. I had 5,000, but then I start editing my list, and just editing, just closing off some relationships or connections that were there and so forth. So, and for me, it's not a matter of likes or how many friends you have. No, but my point is this: if I put it out to the public, uh, people don't know me. They don't need to know all of that. But what I share, I want to make sure that it's something that will inspire, uplift, motivate, encourage you. That is just my MO. Again, it's not good or bad, right or wrong. Whatever works best for you, that's what you should do. And that's what I do unapologetically. So, as you discover yourself, you're going to discover so many things about yourself. And then the thing is that you'll be able to stand on your values unapologetically. You wouldn't have to explain or try to justify the things you do or say or anything like that. It's fascinating because you're going to reach that place of autonomy, where you know that you're the one that's governing your life. And it happens in such a, this weekend I discovered something about myself, because I talked about last week, well, a couple of weeks ago, I talked about I discovered that I had not been putting myself as priority. I have always put my husband as a priority. And there was never an issue with that because I enjoyed that. I have an amazing husband, and he deserves that place. But as I discovered, continue to discover who I am, my true self, I discovered that I was not putting myself as priority. And I didn't like that. I wanted to make sure that I gave honor to myself above all. And so this weekend, last weekend, we decided that we were going to stay home. And, we'd been looking at this recipe, and we wanted to prepare a gourmet dish, and it's escabeche. Escabeche is it's a Caribbean, it's a Jamaican dish actually, and it's we were going to do it with a fish, and we bought this red snapper, a whole red snapper. We had never done that before. We've eaten it when we've gone to the Caribbean or even local here when we go to a local restaurant, and we have had escabeche fish, but we've never cooked it. So we decided we were going to do it. So we got this. It's a whole red snapper, big one, and so we prepared it, and then the escabeche is like a what do you call it? A rub you with different spices and hot peppers and all that kind of stuff. And then you cut up the carrots and the onions and you put on it. I mean, it was just absolutely delicious. So we did that, and we made some yuca. We just went Caribbean. It turned out delicious. So, we, set the table, and we're at the table, and the fish is in this dish. So my husband said, why don't you cut it? Now, when you're dealing with a whole fish, you know that the tail has more meat just by default. The head has less meat. So he said, well, you cut it. So I cut the fish in half, and I took the head and I put it in my plate. And he says, why are you taking the head when there's more meat on the tail? That little statement said something to me. First of all, it showed me that, because I thought, I know the tail has more meat, but my heart really wanted to give my husband the tail, because, when we have been out and we have ordered that before, he has mentioned before, he says, I just don't like the head. The head, you can't find a lot of meat on the on the head of the fish head. And so I wanted him to have it. But what it also said to me that he would have been okay for me to have the tail with more meat. And I thought, I don't even know if I shared that with him. I don't think I did. I'm gonna kind of mention that to him and kind of point that out. But I thought, wow, that's great. He wanted me to have the best part, quote unquote. And trust me, the fish was big enough that the part of the head had enough meat, had a lot of fish meat on it, that I was satisfied with that. And it's just that you have to kind of work through it a little more. But I was okay with that. But I wanted him to have it. But at the same time, he wanted me to have it. Isn't that fantastic? I thought, wow, it seems like, so my point is this, even though I am 100% cognizant of putting myself first, I'm not selfish. So being the priority, I know in my mind that I am the priority. But at the same time, I'm not selfish. And I was okay with giving him the better part of the red snapper of the fish. I was okay with that. So you see, I discovered that, and that happened organically. But at the same time, I thought about it. Wait a minute, Cynthia. In my mind, I thought, well, you're a priority, but my heart really wanted. Had I given him the head, it would have gone against my own desire. That would not have been organic. So, just little things like that. Just little things. And it really helps you discover things about yourself. That's just a little thing that I discovered. But as time goes along, you're going to discover things about yourself that is going to, and the more you discover, the more you want to hone in on, like, who is this amazing person that I am. And it really helps you navigate life with more ease and comfort. And you don't have to pull and struggle and, and go through all this situation in life. You just navigate through life being your true, authentic self. And that happens in many ways. And you know what I discovered also, that, and I know that many of you have said, you, especially you that are going through a religious deconstruction, um, have this challenge with your religious beliefs and cognitive dissonance, and it's a thing. Well, I'm going to say something. When I talk about critical thinking skills, you will not, to have a religious mind, and I know I did, to have a religious mind, they cannot coexist. They simply cannot coexist. You cannot, you cannot, you cannot be religious minded or follow your religious doctrine. And in this case, I'm talking about the Christian doctrine. You cannot follow that with intellectual honesty and at the same time exercise your critical thinking skills. They just cannot, they cannot coexist. You would have to bypass, just like I did, you would have to bypass the truth that's in uh, the Bible in order to, you have to bypass it in order to believe it, because as you know that, and that's why you have to believe, because everything in it is a claim. It's not the truth. It's a claim. And there are some people that resist. Oh, I know this is true because this and that the other. If that works for you, that's fine. But unless you can um, uh, produce demonstrable, verifiable proof, evidence, we deal with facts and truth based on the things that we can uh, observe with our five senses, see, touch, smell, hear, uh, taste. Those are things, when science goes toward checking things out, they come back with evidence. Science is evidence based. They cannot come back with a claim. They can come back with a theory, but not a claim. A claim is somebody's opinion, somebody's views, somebody's take, somebody's position on something. So don't don't stress yourself out um, when you're trying to do this whole dance around religious deconstruction and try to develop your critical thinking skills. They cannot coexist. Once you make a decision, though, that you are going to use your intellect, because remember, the same book that you read, which I'm telling you right now, you don't need a book, you don't need church, you don't need a pastor. You don't need a book, the Bible, you don't need church, you don't need a pastor. You don't. You need your instinctive, intellectual, intuitive self. Everything you need is within. And once you make a decision to do that, to go there, that saying people say, you got this. I can tell you, my friend, you got this. You got this. You got this. It's up to you to determine what you want to do. And again, it's no matter of good or bad, right or wrong. It is simply you decide what you want to do. I'm not here to tell you to do or undo. I am talking to the people that are going through this journey of self-discovery, and you that are going through this battle of religious deconstruction, deconstructing from all the norms that we've been uh, indoctrinated with, because that's what it is. You're taught how to what to think and not how to think. And critical thinking skills teaches you how to think and how to unpack things and ideas, and to investigate and to research and to look into and to do a study on. And once you come up with the truth, that is the truth that's going to set you free. And one of the things that I am discovering, when you talk about losing friends and losing connections, as I say, once you go through this journey of self-discovery, you don't lose friends. You may lose connection, and that's okay, because connections are people that some may be acquaintances, some may have been friends, but you really weren't that close, and you just drift apart, and that is okay. Why? Because you're on to discovering more about yourself, and you've got to honor that more so than a connection with anyone else. But what I have found, some people say that they're subject to being ostracized and criticized and judged and so forth. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Say, let me tell you something. Let me get this a little closer, and I like to get comfortable here. Put my leg under over here. Anyway, when you start discovering yourself, and start flowing in that space of freedom, of being a little more confident and assertive, a total badass. You just coming out. It's like a coming out. Your true self coming out. Once you discover that, what I have found, when I that was years ago that I went through that phase, because again, my change or deconstruction, at least from religion, happened like 16 years ago. And back then, the term deconstruction was not trending, at least not in my orbit. And and people start asking all these questions. The freedom that I exuded, the freedom that I exhibited, the freedom that I start to demonstrate. And the thing is that it happened organically. It wasn't like I was trying to show or to make believe or to pretend or to perform. No, it's just that I allowed myself. It's like before, like I never drank wine. When I was in the religious orbit, wine was not part of my thing. It wasn't part of my MO. As a matter of fact, I remember having a pastor that had with such gusto, with such uh, humility, which was actually pride, would say that he had never tasted wine or never had sipped wine or something like that, whatever. So I didn't, of course, I had had wine before I got born again when I was in, lived in other places and so forth. But, um, once I met my husband likes to have a glass of wine, and I started out with that, and yeah, having some Mug and David, which was like communion wine, many sherries, that sweet wine, whatever. And he would be like, oh God. But he would, I would have it. Of course, now I'm a little more sophisticated. I am like Cabernet Sauvignon. It's so, but I've come to realize through my own uh, discovery that I really enjoy that. Really enjoy having a glass of wine with, with a friend when you're out at dinner. I really enjoy that whole social thing. And I really enjoy to have a glass of wine. But the thing is that it almost appeared that people were kind of, I hate to use the word jealous, but yeah, jealous of the freedom that you come into. People will be jealous of the freedom that you have. They will be jealous that they are still following this these rules, these laws, this doctrine, these commands, and all of that, and so locked up and stifled, and they don't have the freedom that you have. So it puts you at an advantage. I never used to see it that way back then. But now I realize, because people would always ask me, so what do you believe? I remember one time somebody sent me a DM and they said, I am just so surprised because, I told you I used to teach in a Bible school, intimacy with the Father, and God wants you to prosper, just different things, whatever. And this person, she said, so just exactly what do you believe? So what do you believe? And when they asked that, I was a little taken aback because I didn't even know what to answer. Because by then I had no beliefs. I had no beliefs. I had no belief system. It was already out of my system. It was out. And I thought, wait a minute. I says, what I believe is not what's important. What's important is what you believe. And that's, a lot of religious people, like, when they realize that I don't subscribe to any religion, any religious creed, any religious doctrine, dogma. When people realize that they they look at me like, you got to believe something. No, I'm a realist. I don't have to believe anything. What you believe, you don't even know that it's true, because, again, if you look it up, belief is not the truth. Belief is something that you you doubt. You're not sure. You're not sure of it. You're not sure of that. So you believe, and this book is full of beliefs. Full of beliefs. Believe a lot of things, and things that are not verifiable. I was talking to someone the other day, and there's a scripture in the Bible that says that, and this, I believe it's in Genesis, when at the beginning of creation, and when, according to the Bible, again, this is all according to the Bible, because, again, I have no beliefs, but it says that God created man and woman, and male and female, and gave them dominion over everything. Gave them dominion. Dominion. Just take that, for instance. Just take that one thing, dominion. Now, if I were to say to you, okay, you are a Christian, you are a believer, and according to the Bible, which you follow, it says that you've been given dominion. Over what do you have dominion? Show me your dominion. Show me what do and in most cases, these people have a lot of problems, a lot of situations, some kind of, whether it's loneliness, whether it's wanting a spouse, a house, a car, children, um, a job, finances, just a lot of situations which they would then say, they're going through a trial, a test, tribulation, all of that. But if you have dominion, you ought to be, do you know what that means? You ought to be able to dominate. You ought to be able to, your finances, your social situation, your relationships. You ought to have dominion over everything. Now, if you say, "Oh no, that was just dominion over the fowl of the air and the beasts of the earth and the fish in the sea and whatever," try going into the waters of the sea unguarded. Just take a dive. Yeah, just take a dive out in Southeast Asia, and just take a dive in your bare nothing, your bird suit. Or okay, you could put on anything, but outside of a cage, and test the dominion that you have in the water. Or just go on an African safari. Just go, get out of the Jeep and walk among the lions and the zebras and the elephants and all of the hippopotamus. It says you have dominion. Think about that. There goes your critical thinking skills. Do you really have dominion? And if you do, how does it work? You should have dominion over even yourself, over your health, over your household, protection, safety, provision. You should have dominion. Dominion is putting you in a place of leadership, of governing yourself. Some people don't even have self-control. That's why we talk about emotional intelligence. It's to regulate your emotions. Don't get all triggered and bent out of shape when somebody says something that doesn't conform to your beliefs or to your position or to your opinion. Don't get bent out of shape. Allow people to be who they are. Just like you should be who you are, your organic self. Do you see? So when you think of it that way and you ask, do I have dominion? That's something that has to go over your head. And you're going to say, oh, well, you have to have a level of faith in order to have dominion. No, that's not what it says. He says, I will give them, male and female, dominion over the things of the earth. I will give them dominion. So you should have dominion. But guess what? When I need something done, I just do it. I just do it. I use my intellect, figure it out, and just do it. And 9 out of 10 times it works. It's, there are things that work in my favor. They're the answers. They're the response, the answers that I need to resolve my situation. I don't pray. I don't go fasting. None of that. I just try to figure it out and find the answers. Check my resources and so forth. So if you want something to think about that. Where's the dominion that you have? And that will help you. That will help you, to shed, to deconstruct, and all of that. One other basic thing that I had a conversation with someone as well, and and this is so simple and so basic. Now, I said, with all this thing, with this religious doctrine and all of that, just think of it. God can never be God unless there's Satan, unless there's a devil, Lucifer. Because his children, the battle is always against a devil, the devil, Satan, Lucifer, whatever. It's always, I bind you, Satan. Oh, the devil is a liar, blah, blah, blah. And it's always against the poor devil. And once you take the devil out of the equation, I'm telling you, your problems will disappear. We took the devil out of the equation like 16 years ago. Both the devil and Jesus. We took them out of the equation. And it's changed everything. It's changed everything. That's just the truth. It's just changed everything. No devil to bind, no devil to lose. And our issues, our challenges have become so minimal, less and less and less and less and less. There are more opportunities of joy and fun and pleasure and entertainment and happy moments and creating memories more so than anything else. No binding, no loosing, what do you call that? No trial, no test, no breakthrough, no none of that. My friend, get to that place. Now, if you don't want to let go of your religion, then that is okay. It's not a matter of good or bad, right or wrong. It's, what do you want for yourself? What is it that you want for yourself? Where are you taking your life? What is it that you desire? Do you want more love in your life? Do you want more peace? Do you want more contentment, more happiness? Do you want more friends? Do you want less problems, less stress? I was this morning I was reading something and I shared it with my husband and I said, do you know that the emotions that one emits creates certain chemicals in your body that releases, like, certain hormones that can attack your cells and create diseases, hypertension, hyperthyroidism, pressure, diabetes. There was a book, actually, is what led me to believe, not to believe, but to open this discussion with my husband. And I said, yeah, one's emotions. That's why you can't allow yourself to get worked up over anything or triggered. You listen to a situation and you just pause and you absorb. If it's something that you can change, if it's something that's going to affect you, whatever, then you address it. But if it's beyond your control, you just have to find another way to be cool, to remain equanime, cool, chilling, because it will affect your health. And you don't want that. Sometimes people show up with things and they're like, wait a minute, how did this happen? I'm very mindful of all those things, and I try to do my best to regulate my emotions, because it's your emotional, your thoughts create your emotions. Your emotions create your behavior, your reaction to things, and the way you react, dispels certain chemicals in your body. Dispara, it shoots off certain chemicals, and some of them are damaging to your cells, and you don't want that. So this is, it's deeper. And I said to my husband, I said, I wish I could share a lot of these things that I come across. I wish I could share it with people, with my friends, um but and he said no. He said no. People have to want it for themselves in order for them to benefit from it. Because before I would read something and shoot it off to different people, friends, and then I thought, you know what? No, because that's not where they're at. I remember years ago, I was one that two or three glasses of water a day, that was all I could do. I just did not like the taste of water at all. But I really wanted to get into that whole thing about, because I know that the body is, what is it? They say 70% water, and how the water in your body allows allows the organs to function well, and so forth. Until and I joined this. It's not a club. It's a company where they sell these tablets that would change the, give the water a kind of taste without adding any kind of calories or anything to it. Not only calories, but any kind of chemicals. But they're pills. It was kind of like, well, pill shaped, like a little round thing, and I became part of that whole group, and I got these beautiful tumblers, glass tumblers, and and it was tough for me to. So I did it, spent all that kind of money in there, and then I stopped. And then one day I read where cucumber water and all the benefits, and I am telling you, my friends, I started doing that. Next month is going to be a year, every single day, unless I'm traveling, obviously. But every single day, every single night, I slice my cucumber. And now, about 6 months ago, I started adding lemon. So I slice a lemon and the cucumber, and I cannot tell you how that has regulated my system. And when I say regulate, I mean I have no pain. I have symptoms of nothing. Take no medication for anything. Go to sleep. And even if sometimes, you know, I it takes me a long time to fall asleep, that's because my mind is like on overdrive. That's okay. I just stay in bed and just get up later. But it's done me well. Why? I was ready for that information, but I found it myself. No one told me about it. I found it myself. And I wish I could tell everyone that. You start drinking a lot of water, and you would see how, when your body is hydrated, how it will make you feel and what it will do to your system, what it will do to your overall system. So, anyway, um, talking about emotions, again, emotions can cause a whole lot of things. So, think about that, my friend, and use emotional intelligence, but at the same time, your critical thinking skills. That is something that has to be at the forefront of your journey if you really want to come to that place of self-discovery. You know why? Because when you go back, you are going to realize that a lot of the things that you know and you do now, they are things that were imposed upon you. They are things that were, human construct, social construct. Everything is a construct that was imposed upon you. So when you go back, you're going to start thinking logically and critically. It's like I was going to say earlier that I had this conversation with someone, and they were talking about religion and so forth and whatever. And I said, if you think about it, wouldn't it have been easier, or even now, if the devil is the villain and God is all powerful, almighty, omnipresent, omniscient, so forth? Um, would it not be easier to just get rid of one person instead of creating this whole community of what, 2 billion people? I guess I think there's like 2 billion Christians worldwide or something like that, of different, there are like 45,000 different denominations. And by the end of this year, there will be like 49,000. That's the prediction. But the point is this: just think for a moment. Just pause and think for a moment. Would it not be easier if there is a villain, you know the villain. The villain is the tempter. The villain is the oppressor. The villain is the bad guy. The villain is the crook. The villain is the thief. The villain is the murderer. The villain is the one that is causing the chaos in your world, in your creation. And if the powerful God that exists has more power than the villain, doesn't it stand to reason, my friend, for God, the one in charge, according to the scripture, according to the Bible, doesn't it stand to reason that you would get rid of the villain? That you would get rid of the villain. That's one person. That you would get rid of the villain and not have everybody else in chaotic frenzy, living a life of distress and poverty and sickness and just awful life, worry and fret and fear. But you know why it's set up that way? Because man created that. There had to be a system in place. There had to be a system in place to control the masses. Do you see the monarchy or people with a lot of money or whatever? Do you see them locked up in churches every Sunday and doing all the things? They're out making money, and some of them are doing some things that we may judge as unethical, but they're living a life. And if you ask them about, what says the word, they have no idea what they have no idea what it is. They have no idea what it means. They have no idea, taking it out of context, and people try to explain and over explain this whole doctrine. I am telling you, and again, I am not telling you to, I'm just telling you to use your critical thinking skills to ask the question, if there comes a thief into your house, what are you going to do? You have a family of 9. Are you going to tell your kids to run under the bed? And, let's say, for instance, you have a AK-15, AK-15. I guess that's the one that does a lot of damage. Let's say you have something like that. You are armed to the kilts, and all the adults in your house are armed. Everybody has guns, whatever. What are you going to do? Are you going to tell your kids to go hide in the closet, under the bed, and you're going to go hide? No. You're going to go after the villain. You're going to go after the invader. You're going to go after the intruder. You're going to go after the one that's broken into your house. You have the weapon, and guess what? You're going to take him out. You're going to take him out. My friend, that makes it clear. You ought to be able to think that through. There's not a lot of dissecting to do with that one. And you would say, well, one person said, well, God is God and he can do whatever I want. He's giving you a brain to think according to the Bible. In my mind, I know that this Bible was created. If you go back and think and ask, and you will see that, because one of the questions that when I was doing my research is like, how did Jesus come to be? Like, how did he come to be? Like, and it and I learned that he was just an ordinary person, and I don't know what he was doing, but they decided to call him, or to see him as the anointed one, anointed, chosen by God, anointed. And I was thinking about that today. Do you know that is no different from what some Christians today have deemed that the current president in the United States, they have declared that he is anointed by God. He has been sent by God. It's no different. That's how they saw Jesus. And they determined that he was the anointed one, that he was the Messiah. The Jewish community did not engage in that, but the other community did, and they just lift him up to that place. It's no different than us looking at the president of the United States, certain Christians, a group of Christians, and declaring that he is the Messiah. He is sent by God to, and you see it all over social media. People are saying that he's the Messiah. He's sent by God. Well, not the Messiah, but he's come to save the world, and he is sent by God. It's no different, my friend. Critical thinking skills. It is simple. If there is a villain in your midst, if there is an intruder in your house, you are going to go after the intruder. You're not going to have your kids go hide and just wait for the intruder to come in and empty your house. That's not the way it works. That's not the way it works. That is not the way it works. In whatever era, you're going to go after the intruder to protect the goods of your house. Except, excuse me, if you want to show up as the good guy, let's say the villain is, leaves or escapes, or for some reason doesn't harm anyone, then you show up as the good guy, and then all your kids would say, look at daddy. Look at daddy. Daddy is good. Daddy is good. Look at, but daddy, just like we say now, but God. God is good. God is good. He saved us. It's a whole story. And the more I think of it, because I never used to think of it until you mentioned that you have this challenge between you know getting to your going through your journey of self-discovery, and how it's really conflicting with your religious beliefs. So now I'm like thinking about all these things. But the thing is, wouldn't it be easier? There would be a wicked person, a wicked God, to put his children, or his, because it says, for God so loved the world. So the world is the world. The world is the world. And instead of putting the world through all these trials and tests and tribulation and all of that, deal with the villain. Deal with the villain so that your children can get some rest, can get a breather. They can go through life happy and live heaven here on earth. Here on earth. Enjoy the pleasures of life, of waking up and just be, of course, we go through a cycle of life. Some will be born, some will die. But those of us that are living now, because here's what we have now, the present, to enjoy that and to have peace and contentment and good relationships, and be able to do the things we want and travel the places we want, and have the provision and the meal, and do and live a life that's meaningful and happy and content. I'm going to leave you with that, my friend, so that you can give that some thought. Ask the God that you serve, God of Christianity, the Christian God, why is he not dealing with the villain? Get rid of the villain so that you can get a breather in your health, in your relationships, in your marriage, with your children, on your job, whatever, so that you can get a breather and enjoy life, the pleasures of life as it's meant to be enjoyed. And I'm going to leave you with that, my friend, so that you can give that some thought. And that, by you, look, you'll be asking all these questions. Yeah. Why doesn't that happen? Why doesn't he, just get rid of Satan? That's the truth. But, again, in my mind, this is all, fairy tale. So I don't, well, I got rid of the villain, and my life has changed exponentially. So that doesn't apply to me. But anyway, I'm going to see you next week, same time, same place, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, every Thursday. And if you need to jot me a note, go to the website, thecynthialinuxshow.com. Scroll to the bottom, you'll see a square box there. Drop me a note and share whatever you need to with me. I am also a certified life coach, and what I've been talking about lately is deconstruction from the things that no longer serve you. So, if you need to chat with me about that deconstructing in an area of your life, just I do offer a 30-minute complimentary chat so that to make sure that our comfort level is mutual, and then we take it from there. In the meantime, I will see you next Thursday, um, Central Time, 2 p.m. Central Time, same place, same time. But in the meantime, you have a fantastic weekend, and after tomorrow, Friday, and I'll see you then. Ciao. Hasta luego. Hasta la vista. Au revoir.